York's classic rock, Q1043.
Life of a comedian on the road. It's what it's all about. Craig Ferguson, come to New York City, the Fancy Rascal Tour at City Winery, Wednesday the 7th. You have to see Craig live. You have to see him. I saw you last time you were in New York. I'm telling you, I remember the entire set. You know, I did stand up in the 80s. It's brilliant. What I love is storytelling. You and your fellow countryman, Billy Connolly, Eddie Izzard.
Yeah,
That's the magic to
yeah.
me. That's what I do on the air. It's just not a comedy. It's telling stories.
Telling stories. Well, you tell stories, but you hope there's some comedy in there somewhere to entertain them. But it's not just like, and then I went over there and I got an operation. No, it's some comedy in there, I would hope.
You know, you live this oversized life in such a way. There's stories that I'll never forget. Hanging out with Mick Jagger, trying to write a piece of story with him, scream laughing, howling. Billy Connolly stories about life, about playing with the Humble Bums with Jerry Rafferty, and finding out that Clowns to the Left of Me, Jokers to the Right was about him. Perfect.
Yeah.
How you doing?
You know, I'm good. We started the tour in Denver on Friday, and now I wanted to do this tour differently because I was so bored being stuck at home for the last couple of years because of, I don't know if you heard of a thing called the COVIDs, but it was everywhere, and so I had to stay home. And so this tour, because I really wanted to road trip, I bought a truck, and Tomas, who's my tour manager, is also my buddy. We're just road tripping the whole thing. No buses, no planes, no limos, no nothing. It's us in a Dodge Ram 1500.
Oh, talk about stripped down. That's the life.
It's fantastic.
There's no PAs peeling your shrimp for you.
No, no. I am so full of truck stop coffee. I think I may have a prostate issue.
What's it like? Have you done this before? Have you ever toured like just getting in a truck and rolling across America?
Yeah, I mean, I've done stuff like before. Usually there's a bus and a lot of people around, but I didn't really want to do it that way. Right at the very beginning, when you start out, there's no money to do it, but this way. This is the only way you can do it. And you don't get to buy a new truck. You have to you get what you get. So it's stripped down, but it's it's still fancy. We stay in nice hotels and stuff, but I love it, man. I just love it. It's the way you go. I feel like more connected to the job somehow. I don't know why.
Yeah, because insulated. The bus is its own life, its own thing. We were just talking about on the air the other day. You know, how does Neil Aspinall wind up, being the road manager for the Beatles and president? He had a van that worked. He had a lorry. That's your job. That's as important as John Lennon.
It's well, to be fair to John Lennon, I think maybe he was a little more important. But okay, vans are important too. I'm not saying that having a van isn't important, but having John Lennon, if you're the Beatles, I think is fairly crucial.
I'm a Beatle geek and I love these guys. We're talking about how it went from that 4 guys in a van with 2 friends to 100 trucks moving you from stadium to stadium, and how it got to this size. How insane. The rock and roll. You were a rock drummer. You were on the road, right?
Yeah. That's actually why I'm more comfortable doing it like this. Like, even as a comedian, what the representation would rather you do, or the normal thing to do now is that you work Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. That's the only gigs you do, but that isn't like road life to me. So I'll do gigs, Monday through, Thursday, which are a little more exotic.
There's a fantastic love of that. For me, early 80s, I was doing stand-up and started to tour a little bit, but I had a radio gig in New York. And it's that moment where you have to choose. Listen, do I want it every night on the air, New York, it's great, or like to get to the big level, but the Holiday Inns and the crappy food, 4 comics in a car that may or may not make it, and I just realized I wasn't cut out for it.
Great. That's the life, man. But I tell you, had anyone offered me a radio gig in the 80s in New York, I'd have totally taken it.
Okay, so I don't feel as bad. Exactly.
No, you exactly the right thing to do. You were lucky.
Yeah. Hey,
But
listen, the
once
Late Show was brilliant. I loved what you did on TV. It was a
thank
true joy. It was refreshing, not blowing smoke up your butt. It was a great show. Thank you for that.
Well, thanks. I had a great time doing it. But it was funny. I was talking to Tomas, my buddy and road manager, who's sitting next to me. We were talking about rock and roll life, and I remember when I was a kid and I was playing drums in punk rock bands. I said, you'll never get me wearing a suit and sitting behind a desk. And then they did it. They got it. But I'm glad to be. I'm very happy I did that show, but I'm very happy that I don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if they came up again, if they said, "Hey, Craig, what do you think? What about another round?"
No,
No?
no, you absolutely not. It was fine, but it's somebody else's problem now. I'd rather do something else.
Craig is on the road, the Fancy Rascal Tour. We get him at City Winery next Wednesday, September 7th. I wouldn't miss that for the world. It's a joy. There's a sense that you're so comfortable on stage. You get to that point that we always talk
Yeah,
about 10,000 hours, whether you're music or you're Mick Jagger or Craig. When you go out on stage, there's a joy to it because it relaxes the audience because we know you know what you're doing.
yeah, definitely, and that's the truth. And I'm very grateful to actually late night did that for me a little bit as well. It's like my pulse doesn't change from the dressing room to the spotlight. Doesn't change. I'm very happy to be there, and I get a charge from it. But I'm not scared of it. The opposite. I love it. I relish it. I'll happily travel thousands of miles to get the chance to do it. I love doing it.
Yeah, as all my friends who are touring now that I've known for years say, I sing for free, I perform for free. They pay me to travel. And that's
That's
the part.
totally. And actually, these days I do it all for free. And the money, I just find the money lying around backstage because I like to travel. So if they keep throwing up money at me, well, that's just gravy. But I'd probably do it anyway.
Classic rock is bigger now than it's ever been. I mean, thanks to like
Yeah.
Stranger Things, using Metallica, using Kate Bush, it constantly reinforces. We have more listeners who are teenagers and 20 somethings than old farts like myself. And thank God, it's keeping us alive.
You know what? It's weird. I was talking to somebody about that the other day. Look, we're only 5 shows into this tour. Usually, my audience, I can see them out there. The spotlight glints in their hair, and I can see them. But we're getting a lot of kids in metal shirts and younger people, and I'm like, I don't know where it's coming from. But I think it might be something to do with YouTube or people watching stuff online. It's got to be that because I haven't been doing TV for ages, so I don't know where they're getting this stuff.
But it's all that. It's all
Or maybe
social
they're coming.
media. You see how many
Or maybe
kids are
they're
wearing
coming to
Pink
see
Floyd
me
t-shirts and
ironically.
Rolling Stones t-shirts,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
12 years old, and they're all wearing classic rock shirts.
That's funny, isn't it? I
There's
like it though. It's cool.
Oh, it's a thrill. It's a lifesaver. Dear friends of mine, Eric Bloom from Blue Oyster Cult, said we knew how this was going to end. It would just slowly spiral down, so it wasn't worth going out anymore. And now, thanks to the damn cowbell sketch on Saturday Night Live that everybody keeps repeating, he said, I'm all set. The kids are all set. I thought I'd be semi-retired. So we're making more money now than when we were in the 70s playing stadiums. And
Can I
now
tell you
debt.
something? Can I tell you something about Blue Oyster Cult? This
Oh,
is a true
please.
story. The first rock and roll gig I ever went to in my life was Blue Oyster Cult in Smithtown, Long Island, when I was 13 years old.
I'm so proud. How did you wind up in Smithtown when you're 13?
Well, I don't know if you know this, but I'm not originally from Smithtown, Long Island, but my, my uncle and aunt and their kids lived there. And when I was 13, my dad and I got cheap flights over from Scotland, and we went to visit my aunt and uncle, and I stayed with them, and then I went to Smithtown, Long Island, and my cousins took me to see Blue Oyster Cult, and they let me smoke my first cigarette made of tobacco, and I think what happened is that that leads directly to me sitting in a Dodge Ram wearing a Ramones t-shirt on another tour in my life, because I think had I not gone to that Blue Oyster Cult show, I'd have maybe ended up, working in an office after all.
So my friends
So
Buck
I'm very
Dharma,
happy,
Eric
but I'm
Bloom and
very
company
grateful
were
to
the
Blue
ones who
Oyster
set you
Cult.
on the road to ruin. Got it. I'll pass that along.
Exactly. Please do. I've never met those guys, and I just please my gratitude that my life of of whatever it is directly their fault.
I will
So
absolutely pass
I
that
don't
along.
know legally. I don't mean that. That doesn't mean they get to claim any royalties. I'm just saying it's their
Hey,
fault.
what Eric always said is, for years, the kid's sitting there on his phone and dad is doing this and bouncing along. He said, for the last 5 years, dad is sitting like this and the kid's wearing his more cowbell shirt going crazy.
Yes,
Because
that's
the
funny.
entire business is flipped for us and the kids are dragging dad to come see us again. For him, it's the 70th show and the kids are loving it. And why do you do it? He said, Jewish middle class guilt. I hear my father's voice going, you know how hard I worked, Mr. Big Shot? You can't get on a plane for $50,000? He goes, yeah.
Yeah. The truth, I for a lot of time, I did it because of, that very reason, the guilt and the work ethic, but it's not even work anymore. I just love it now.
I'm so
It's
glad.
weird. I mean, I think it's the last couple of years really flipped it for me, and I was getting that way anyway with it, but I just do it because I love doing it.
Every single one of my friends in London here will go, oh, so nice to get off the road. I'll be able to relax. I'll spend time with my family. 4 weeks in, I'm going to kill my family and take my own life if I don't get out on the road.
Well, I got nothing to say about that. My family here, but I'm very happy to be sitting next to the 6'5" rock and roll Czech tour manager and me, drinking truck stop coffee and discussing the meaning of life over and over again.
It is Zen perfect. Craig Ferguson at City Winery coming Wednesday, the 7th. I'm absolutely wouldn't miss it for the world. You have to go. You guys are going to love this. Hey, before I let you go, talking a little rock and roll drumming and Beatles. Everybody always says to me, you really think Ringo's the best drummer? And I always say, Ringo is the best drummer that could ever be in a band called the Beatles. He was the best drummer for them. Your thoughts?
I think I actually think I'd go further than that. I think Ringo is, the coming in on the downbeat, that technique, that kind of little swish. Without Ringo, there's no Bonham. Without Bonham, there's no moving on to Taylor and everybody else. So I think that Ringo is the velvet underground of drummers, and I won't hear anyone say different.
I love hearing you say that. It's sort of edification of somebody who is a drummer and on the tour, because I feel the same way. How many drummers can we say in our life where the fills? You could sing the fill.
Exactly.
Bop, boom, bop, boom, 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 boom.
Dum, dum, da, dum, dum, da, 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 dum. I mean, that's him. The two great early drummers for me are, well, three maybe. There's Ringo, Pierre van der Linden, who played with a band called Focus.
I love Focus.
He's unbelievable
Hocus
drummer.
Pocus. You guys go find that.
Oh my goodness. So Pierre van der Linden and maybe Carl Palmer as well.
Yay, ELP.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because they brought jazz, they brought a swing to rock and roll that wasn't there before. I can't wait to see you guys. I want to see you on the kit one day. I want to see you sit out and play.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think it's funny, but it ain't that funny. so maybe it has to be somewhere else.
Craig, thanks so much for your time. Can't wait to see you. I'll stop by and say hi when we get to town.
Definitely, please do. It was lovely to talk to you.
Same here, man. Craig Ferguson at City Winery, Wednesday, September 7th. Safe travels.
Thank you.
New York's classic rock, Q1043.